Crypto Pirates, welcome. And Hexicans, welcome to your Discourse Syndicates FN Hangout. Thank you for being here on a Friday night. Those of you who have no life, or this is your life, thank you for that being. I know some of you here show up every Friday, which is awesome. Thanks for keeping me company in these cold, wind-burdened seas. The dead ass bear market crypto seas. Anyway, let's say hello to everybody. Centurion 54. What's happening? And Joe Mama's here. Everybody, Joe Mama's here. Dark Days, do you appreciate the updates? Yeah, right. That's how it works. It's always how it works. But I like updates much better. What's up, Melv Tony? Good evening to you. Thanks for coming and participating and being part of us. Eagle Al, what's up? MT Coiner. Hey, Big G. Real life of Big G. What's happening, Big G? Good to see you, man. Who else? Sandy Beach, my lady. Welcome, welcome. Always supporting. Graphene. Hey, what's up? Graphene. The hardest substance. The hardest hands. Graphene. Folks, we're back, ready for round two. Well, we've had a couple rounds, maybe round 4, 3, 4. We've had a lot of good ups and downs. Forget big payday. Oof. Let's see. What's up, Dorsey? Good to have you with us, man. Hope all's well. Who else do we have here? Crypto Black Sheep in the house. I was gonna call you the other day, bro. I'll give you a jingle. Get you to send me that stuff over here. Hope all is well with you, man. I was hearing you were moving. You leaving the big city? Anyway, let's we gotta talk. See what's going on, man. Good to see you though. Thanks for coming. Cookies and crypto. Let's fucking go. Yeah, man. Let's go. Hex is not for those afraid of heights. Yeah. Not for those afraid of a lot of stuff. People not afraid of a lot of stuff. It definitely have to have thick skin to be here. Definitely got to have thick skin to be a Hexican and in the crypto markets. Jeez. It's one thing just being in the crypto markets. There's another thing being a Hexican. There's another thing being a Hexican. I don't want to say influencer. I hate that word. Another thing being a Hexican mouthpiece, I guess. Let's see. Yep, Black Sheep is in the house. Let's see. Yeah. Adam Chadwick, what's up? What's up? Good to have you. Hex prices in the last 24 hours up 12.10% in the last 7 days, 39.8% in the last 14 days, 35.4% in the last 30 days, and 212%. Look at that. Look at that. Bright Light Crypto, what's up? Welcome. Welcome to the show. I've been traveling. All right. Good for you, Black Sheep. Good for you. And Robert Saunders, been fighting DCA and making it. Another thing to cosplay as a pirate, right? Exactly. Actually, doesn't. I know I cosplay, but it kind of is who I am. That's what I do. I'm a pirate. Dirty ass pirate. So hey, I don't know who you are in the green room. Show yourself. I won't put, if you don't want to put your camera on sign, but show yourself just so I can see. You ain't crazy, something crazy. All right. Oh, well, look who it is. Oh, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's bring up our man here. We've got guests showing up already. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up Christopher. Christopher says, hey, RG3, why did you block me on X? Is that because I'm roasting you for shilling Titans at its top while Hex was at the bottom? No hate here, you know. I never shilled Titans or Titan, whatever that other thing is. Never did, bro. So you can just take that and stuff it somewhere. But no, you were probably an asshole to me or something. I just don't deal with assholes anymore. I'm tired of it. So if you want to talk about it later, we can talk about it later. So, but here's not the place to do it, I don't think. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, RJ, what's happening, RJ? What can I do for you?
What's going on, RG3? Thanks for throwing me in here in the mix. I'm happy to be here, and yeah, I'm the actuator guy, as you know, but excited to hang out. My co-founder C3, he should be joining us too. So
okay. So what is going on with you guys?
Well, we're excited for our protocol launch on Monday, which we're kind of scrambling to just get all of our ducks in a row on that. So we're pretty excited about that. And obviously the market's moving, and so we don't want that to get away from us. So we're kind of excited. Our project's built on top of Hex, and we think we're going to give new tools for Hex staking. So that's what we think it's good timing. And we've been working on it for over a year now, or close to a year. And my co-founder, he's kind of the TradFi wizard. I'm the tech guy, and so I think we're a good pair. And yeah, so I don't know. I can tell you about the protocol, but I don't want.
He's in the green room, so I'll bring him up. Well, he's in the green room, so I'll bring him up so we can chat. So I'm gonna let everybody know that before we talk about other projects and anything out here, anything built on Hex, anything built on Pulse, that's fine. You're all welcome to come here and talk. But everybody's going to know that, all of these things are new. All of these things are suspect. All of these things can get you hurt. And we are experimenting right now, especially if we're putting things on PulseChain, we're building things on Hex. All of these things are experimental. And if you're getting out there and getting invested or aping into these things and thinking that you're going to become a multimillionaire, then you're doing it wrong. You need to vet these things, look at what these things are doing, look at how they work, how they fit, what's their product market fit, and whether it's something that you want to be part of. So, but my hat is always off to the people who are building on PulseChain, but everyone beware. That's what I'm saying. So how you doing, C3?
I'm doing great. Really appreciate being here. And I got to tell you, I really appreciate all you've done for the community for all these years. I mean, you go as an unsung hero in many regards, sacrificing quite a bit, putting up with a lot of BS, which, you've identified, but man, you do a lot of stuff. Love the production on the highest of stakes. Love your commitment to all that you've done. I'm a day one Hexican. I've been involved in all the stuff that comes and goes, and you've just been a strong actor for the community. So thanks.
I appreciate that. And, it is, if crypto makes it, then it'll be worth it.
Right. It's not been easy.
That's my, I know that the products that we're all sitting on here with Hex and PulseChain and PulseX and Inc. and what Richard's built and the things that people are building on top of it, the things that are working, the things that are experimenting. I'm proud of this community and what they're doing. And, and it's worth it. If we can get real DeFi out there, get in front of people and put it in everyday people's lives. I've been really concerned lately about the political climate and what this might mean for crypto as a whole and DeFi as a whole. And there's a lot of good people in this community that are just regular people, and they're not people backed by a bunch of company money or out there trying to scam. I've seen people make mistakes. I've seen people do things wrong. I've seen people get greedy and put inferior products out or whatnot. But I think that what's important that we all realize here coming real soon is that there's going to need to be an argument made for DeFi. And it's, we cannot go the way of, oh, you guys are a bunch of terrorists, you guys are a bunch of money launderers, and you guys are a bunch of drug dealers. That's what DeFi is for. And that's not the case. There are a lot of people depending on DeFi to be successful. There's a lot of people that have worked really hard for years to make DeFi successful. And I'm sure your story is probably part of that. So I think that we need to get out there. We need to tell the stories instead of, trying to punch each other in the nose and say, oh, you're a scammer, you're a scammer, you're a scammer. We need to listen to each other's stories, get to know who we are, and let the world know who we are, so that when it comes time for us to argue our case, we have many cases to bring before them. Single moms, guys looking for retirement, guys getting out of the tech industry and coming into crypto and building things over here and building financial products that make the world a better place and give people retirement funds and yield and these kinds of things. So I'm hoping that your guys' story is part of it. And, we can go out there and start telling it so that we can save this thing called DeFi.
Well, you're exactly right, in my opinion. And that is the case. If you've been in crypto for any amount of time, and I've been in since late 13, early 14, I won't give you the whole story unless you want to hear it. But the fact is, was also in Hex from day one, sacked for Pulse, sacked for PulseX, watched, did all the stuff with Hedron Icosa, did all the things. Watched the good, the bad, the ugly, watched a lot of people come into this community, talking the talk and having something to say and gathering a community, and weeks later they vampire attack and take a community with them. So there's a lot of stuff to watch out for sure. And look, if we weren't taking some bullets, we probably wouldn't even be in the fight, right? So that's kind of what it is to be in the fight.
Yeah. So go ahead and drop a little bit of your history. Just I think that it's better that people kind of get to know who people are, hear their stories, and see how they tell it. And it's a tell. The reason I even got into what Richard Hart did was because, I listened to him. I saw what he was doing. I heard what he was about, and there was something about Richard that made me think, this guy's on the up and up. He's going to do something good here. So this is your chance. Say something to everybody about who you are, what you're doing, why you're even here.
Happy to do that. And, the highest stakes, you laid out your background, and that's a great testimony. So I appreciate that. Mine, the first half of my professional career, I was on the high seas, kind of like you there, Captain. I was U.S. Navy for the first half of my submarine force. So I was under the water. And then the second half of my professional life came out and went into the investment banking world, institutional bonds and risk management and portfolio management and all the things in the institutional bond world. So I've seen traditional finance. I was on Wall Street doing things during the 2008 financial crisis. I watched what got us there. I watched what happened through it, and I watched what happened coming out of it, and I didn't like it too much. And so from that perch in 2000, late 13, early 14 is when I stumbled across Bitcoin. Didn't think much of it at first, like many. Turned around a few months later and said, no, there's something here. And from that point on, I began saying, I need to chart my course out of the problem and into the solution. And it took me another 3 years to work my way out of the fixed income business and the bond market and retire from that in 17, having already been 3 years into crypto. Went full-time crypto, did portfolio management, connected up with some co-founders of mining projects, did a lot of things, and have been full-time ever since. Met RJ around that time in 17. He'll give a piece of his story in a minute, and off we go. But stumbled across Richard Hart just before the launch of Hex, was very compelled by what it was providing, although I recognized in a hurry he had a lot of non-supporters. I said, there's got to be something going on here. And of course, picked through that and concluded, no, I think there's a there. And was in day one. He warned everyone, don't jump in with both feet on day one. I did anyway. But I also bought the bottom, and I bought the middles, and I bought a lot of stuff. I was sitting in front of my computer at midnight UTC for 350 days, playing the same game with the adoption amplifier. So I've seen the drill. And to some degree, that was the genesis of our project. But let me just let RJ say a word or two.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like my co-founder here, C3, taught me the lesson to be patient with people when you're trying to explain to them these concepts, because my co-founder needed a lot of patience in working with me because, you know, he offered me a full-time job 6 or 7 years ago in crypto, and I was in TradFi, and I didn't see the value add of crypto basically at the time. I was too busy, you know, doing TradFi stuff and kind of being indoctrinated on that side. And but my co-founder didn't give up on me, so we had multiple stints together, and I just slowly started being broken down a bit and started to see more and more. I think what's really powerful is that, you know, I thought C3 here was a bit delusioned back in 2017, 2018. And then 3 years later,
wasn't?
after, yeah, well, yeah, I thought I was a sane one. And they did, after 2020, I realized it was the opposite. And that taught me a really valuable lesson just in, you know, you can't be fearful of man in these conversations. Like you have to speak your mind, you know, with grace. But I came to see just, you know, the, you know, what was the prediction that C3 made, and what was the outcome, and did it align? And so I started to see just, you know, everything that he was harping on. You know, in the early days, it started to become clear, and then with COVID, it's just, you know, probably a lot of people have the same story. For me, though, I come from the tech side, so I've been writing software for 10 years, and so that's kind of my angle at it. And I went through a book on writing smart contracts, and that was really eye-opening in a lot of ways for me. So that's kind of how I came into crypto. And I mean, yeah, it took lots of just studying to finally, you know, just be totally convinced I had to, you know, leave my you know, secure job in the TradFi world, and then go all in on crypto, and you know, kind of never look back. And so my co-founder and I, we've been building internal tools, PulseChain, Hex stuff. I mean, I've got the Hex contract kind of on as a bookmark. I'm constantly referencing it, obviously building our project off of it, and we're building a bunch of other tools internally around it. So yeah, and then we've also, you know, the HSI system that we were heavily involved in that. So we kind of we have a lot of, you know, kind of the on the ground experience that I think is grounding us in this project that we kind of was inspired by all that.
So you guys worked with Alex on the Hedron?
We didn't work with Alex, but we were just, you know, following him. And just, I mean, we're, you know, looking at the contracts, trying to, we built our own dashboards for the auction system, just to give us, you know, that fine tuning for the bidding. And there's a lot to like about that system, but you know, as we saw, you know, there's something kind of lacking there as well, that we had all these HSIs, but we didn't have the liquidity solution and the monetization tools that we really wanted. So that's kind of where it started.
Right on. Well, C3, so you came from the TradFi world yourself, and you're of a certain age. I'm sure you're right around the same as me, you know. And,
yeah, certain age, you got it.
That's the term I like to use anymore these days. Yeah. But you know, I said something. RJ just said, you know, hey, I you know, didn't think much of crypto, and then I came over here and yada yada, and you know, as I came in also around 14, didn't think much of it at that point, and then started to see the possibilities. But what I did understand, and I'd like you to maybe reiterate here too, just to, I like talking to I like learning from the young folks and speaking to the people of a certain age. And I tell them, you know, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that we're doing here has already been done. We are just using a different technology to congregate or to bring the things that are in the real world that work in finance and program them into the systems and and cryptos and whatnot that we're using here. And you can program them to do really good stuff, like Hex was programmed to, create good inflation, to generate yield, to be self-custodied, to be secure. So all of those things that exist in the real world, and now we see buy and burn mechanisms being built and delivered, and HSIs where you can actually wrap things and make them secure and transfer them around. So what's your opinion on that? Do you think crypto is some, something that the world has never seen before, or am I right? These things are things that older folks shouldn't be afraid of because there's stuff that we've already, grown up with, used and seen come and go.
Yeah, well, if I had to reduce it down to sort of its essence, I would put it this way, and I do in some of my conversations, drawing from the investment banking world and from the crypto world. The world has had honest money before, and the world has had a lot of dishonest money before. And what we presently have in the fiat system is effectively a dishonest money. Now, I know that might shock people, maybe not on this audience, but a lot of folks, you talk to your average person and they're like, what are you talking about? Right? And the idea is that the Federal Reserve has a finger on the scale of every transaction. Remember how, biblically, there's this discussion of honest weights and measures. Maybe you're familiar with that, right? To have an honest weights and measures. So if I'm selling you apples, I don't get to put my finger on the scale and make it look like you're buying more apples than you are, so I cheat you out of that, right? That principle is supposed to be the case in money, except that every transaction, the Federal Reserve has a finger on the scale. That becomes a dishonest money, and we wonder why we don't have a middle class. So to your question, is this new or is it not new? Well, the act of having dishonest money is not new under the sun. It's tough to have the honest money because whoever has a monopoly on the central money system has an ability to corrupt that money and utilize it for the quintillion effect of those who are closest to its source. So what crypto does is, of course, remove that. It brings you back to an honest money. And in fact, that's of course what gold and silver was. You couldn't print gold and silver at the time. So when you have an honest money system, people flourish. Why? Because productivity is rewarded. Why? Because it's not artificially taxed in every transaction. So that's what we really have a chance at. It doesn't mean everything in crypto is honest. Don't misunderstand me. I think we both know better than that. There's a lot of bad actors out there. And so it does call for a lot of discernment. But the fact is, at its core, what it's bringing is this opportunity for an honest money system. But of course, we have to replicate, as RH often says, the critical services that are required, one of which would be income earning, which is what, of course, Hex is doing.
Yeah, and I think with our protocol too, like we said, we come from TradFi and we learned valuable concepts there. That wasn't a waste of time because, but it was built on top of a flawed system, like the foundation there, being fiat. It creates this. I think that's why it's so It's so easy to be delusioned because you're building upon this system, but you kind of have to peel back so many layers to finally find where the problem's at, and it goes deep, the root problem. So I think, the way I'm thinking about it is just like, okay, let's find the right foundation, and then let's carry over those concepts in TradFi. Those things that aren't new. The things we're doing aren't new. There's a analog to all the stuff we're doing in traditional finance. Mm-hmm. I guess as from a tech perspective, I'm just like there is something really mind blowing about the Bitcoin white paper and just this concept of digital scarcity that truly solved a novel problem. And I think that quote, nothing's new under the sun. I know it came from Ecclesiastes, which I've been reading recently, and there's obviously that's true in the broad sense, like you're just saying, C3. But that doesn't mean there aren't, like, novel, I guess, implementations, like the core human condition and the core principles of finance. Obviously, we're all bound by those things. But yeah, the expression of them is going to look different, I guess. I don't know. It's cool to hear my co-founder talk about it, because I think I'm constantly looking at it from like a very low tech level, and I think I have trouble seeing at first the broader picture, which I feel like is just a lack of time in the space and a lack of maturity. So yeah, but it's I think once you start to see, I guess, all the downstream effects of a flawed foundation, and it becomes hard to unsee.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to unwrap there. Let me take it back to so you said the Satoshi white paper. When I read that the first time, when first got into crypto, somebody asked me for some. I sent them some. Another person a few months later asked me for some. I went in there to go get some more, and there was a whole bunch more in there than the change that was left before. And I was like, whoa, what the heck's going on here? And that's what obviously sparked my attention, was that there was value being created and generated in this crypto space. So then I read the Satoshi white paper. When I read the Satoshi white paper, that solidified it for me. There's a reason why this is going up. There's a reason why this is needed. There's a reason why people want it, and the digital scarcity and everything else that I read. And I started out gangbusters, like, wow. And listening to all the people that were talking at the time, the real kind of libertarian, Bitcoin guys that were out there, speaking truth to power, kind of like, this is a new way. And as time went on and I got involved, I saw it turn into a cesspool. And you guys even said, in 17, 18, you were disillusioned. Well, I was in the back rooms. I was in, just about every scam came to me and asked me to get involved in this and that. And I saw people go to prison and whatnot for doing bad things. And I got real disillusioned, and it took me way far away from that. 2 days I stayed awake reading that Satoshi white paper and just going over it and over and over and Googling things and looking at stuff. And as that kind of started to go away, and as I got into DeFi and Richard brought Hex out, I was like, wow, here we go. Here is a way to kind of save the face of crypto. And we're really going to go to DeFi now. We've really got something. And then the whole crypto community flipped on us. Like, screw you guys. How dare you bring real DeFi to the table? Bitcoin's the answer. And we all realized that Bitcoin was flawed in a lot of different ways. And even now, as I look, and I want you guys to go ahead and give me your opinion on this. BlackRock owns $22 to $23 billion in Bitcoin. That means, and that happened all OTC. Let's not be mistaken here. BlackRock secured their Bitcoin before the 70K run. That was all done backdoor. OGs, your OG Bitcoiners, selling their Bitcoin to BlackRock, OTC trades, gave it to the people that they were telling us were the enemy, that who we were fighting against, and all this other. Now BlackRock owns $23 billion worth of Bitcoin. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, there's two sides to this that I'll give you. I'm not thrilled to have, on one hand, I'm not thrilled to have big centralized players who are realistically the cause of the kinds of problems we have in TradFi come in and do their business here. But I am of the view that if our decentralized world is what it holds itself out to be, it does need to be resilient enough to handle that, because we're not here to cut out particular types of players, right? Including the ones we don't like. So if it is what we hold it out to be, it needs to be resilient enough to handle them. Now, it's going to have its ups and downs and blows, but I believe it will sustain that. And certainly the crypto community will, because if it needs to, it will just move away from them. They won't be fast enough to respond to the different things that the community can do. It's sort of like the hornets fighting the bear. Which do you want to bet on? I'll tell you what, those hornets will take out that bear. So that nimbleness, that ability to respond, that adjustment. So on the one hand, yes, I'm not thrilled because I realize they're going to come with ill intentions. But the good side is bring it on, because in an anti-fragile system such as crypto, that's supposed to make us better.
But Bill, you wouldn't say that that's true for every crypto project, obviously. Like, where do you draw the line?
The totality of the system, right? Not any given project, right?
Right. Yeah, I think about that question in terms of like, what percentage of the total supply do you need in the right hands? Like, if 10% of the supply is in decentralized cold storage hands, that might be enough. I mean, I don't know what the right analog is, but I'm thinking of, like, revolutions are won by a minority with outsized influence.
About 8 to 15%.
Right. And I'm not qualified to answer these questions, but I guess my intuition is that you don't need a huge percentage of the supply to make it extremely robust, especially an asset that makes it really difficult to create paper money. Like, I mean, that's the issue with gold. And I'm not like an anti-gold guy, but I mean, I think that's a real threat, is the paper gold. But when you have an asset that's transferable anywhere in the world at any time, I don't think you need as much as the supply to be in the right hands to make it extremely resilient.
Well, the key threat here, like it was with gold, is to avoid the idea that we can have paper Bitcoin.
Yeah,
right?
You
so
can't.
that there can be an artificial supply and rehypothecation and all the games that happen on Wall Street. We don't want that replicated here, but there's a big difference, and we're going to see how that plays out. With gold, it became just inconvenient for people to want to store their own gold and protect their own gold and all of that. So that became something where they readily handed it over to centralized custodians, and that set up the day for the type of fiat system we have. But crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or any of these other ones that we're working with that are good, Hex, you don't have that problem. It's not that difficult to own your own. And the fact is, wherever freedom is, comes great responsibility. And we need to be prepared to not get sucked down a channel of comfort and ease, whereby we just want to centralize the holdings of our actual crypto in exchange for paper crypto. And if we refuse that, then those tactics don't play very far. Yeah,
I mean, we haven't seen the real test yet, though, right? Like, our backs haven't been up against the wall to an extreme. But I think when it is, like, when our backs are up against the wall, I think the community has a lot of leverage that the centralized entities don't realize we have. And
what do you think that is?
Well, I think I'm imagining something like, I think in analog wartime, like just the like the creativity and the resolve of a highly motivated group of people, like I think can't be underestimated. And I think we're all highly motivated. Like, I left my job. I think about these things way more than I should. Like, it's consuming me, because I'm realizing, just like, I don't know, I guess we're all like this in the way, but we're highly motivated in part because of our bags. Mm-hmm. But also because of, I think, there's obviously a freedom component to all of this. And I think, the Constitution is only going to get us so far. It's just a document. But the code, a decentralized network, that it enshrines, I think, a lot of the constitutional rights that we want to, make sure are preserved. That's highly motivating for me. And so I think even if a chain is, like, seemingly completely captured, I'm thinking, like we can, there could be some type of like virtual Dunkirk that we could pull off, that, you know, we could find a way to escape their grasp. I don't know what that looks like. I guess I'm curious your perspective, RG3, like, because at the beginning of the stream you said, you know, if we can get this experiment to work, it's going to be worth it. And I agree, it's worth fighting for. But like, under what circumstance do you see us losing? Is it come down to like the Black Rocks? Like, is that the
Well,
foe?
It's the size of your foe. Now, you said something that, you know, sparked something in the Marine in me, which is, you know, few have, you know, uncommon valor as a common virtue, and all of these battles that the Marines were outrun, outgunned, outmanned, and they won. But there were strategies, tactics. All the things had to align for that to happen. There were a lot of different things. A lot of times it was the enemy made mistakes, or the enemy had forces also against them that helped the smaller force win. You know, there's always something that intervened. And, you know, what is it here? As I look at the landscape of this battle that is about to happen, because let's face it, the pieces are being put on the chessboard for the battle to happen right now. We are about to see regulatory changes, or some regulatory periods start to come. We're seeing Richard, you know, at the end of this month, he's going to be up against a court case. We've seen a bunch of people in crypto go up against these, and lately they've been winning, or at least chipping away at winning. And you know, before we just seen them get hung. We just saw them, you know, pay a fine and go be on your way, you know, kind of thing. I don't see that happening anymore. I think that it's really, the pieces are getting ready to, the players are getting ready to start the battle. And here's the problem that I see, is that when you look at the crypto space, we're a very, very small, minute portion of the populace out there, or of the financial world, period. Very, very small. And the DeFi space, the true DeFi space, and I call that the Hexicans, and some very, very small scattered groups out there that are on other chains and whatnot, that are trying to preach DeFi or be DeFi, is even smaller than that. We're such a small group of very, very motivated people. Yes, I get it. I mean, I'm one of them. I am one of them. Right. I'm as loud as I can be. I've traveled the world to try and pass DeFi along. But I see the battle mounting before us, getting bigger and bigger and more powerful and more powerful, and money and people are getting behind our enemies. Even some of the people we thought were our allies, or who we were going into this battle with, are now on the side of, you know, the enemy, as far as I'm concerned. Even when it comes to legislation, I went to DC. I'm gonna bring you up in a second here, bud. We got somebody in the green room. When I went to DC to go talk to lobby groups, to kind of like get involved with what was really going on in crypto, and it was 2 years ago. They were lined up with the exchanges. They were lined up with FTX. Right. They were lined up with CZ. And we saw what right after I got back is when the debacle happened. So we saw where that went. So we kind of dodged a bullet there, where they could have already have kind of gotten rid of DeFi at that point. If it wasn't for FTX, we would have already had some type of regulation. But FTX kind of prolonged that for us, to be completely honest. We're lucky FTX happened. I think that we would have been on, we actually were on the table at that point. We weren't at the table. DeFi was not at the table at that time. We were on the table. So my hopes is that we can get loud enough, get the story straight, get real people out in front of it, so that they're not demonizing us as drug dealers, money launderers, and terrorist suppliers. We've got to show them that there's real people out here doing real things, trying to make real change, trying to bring better products to the financial markets. and hopefully we don't get drowned out by the money. And when I see BlackRock standing over there and I see regulatory getting ready to stick their hand out, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to put their hand out and say, okay, how are we going to regulate this market? Because that's what's going to happen. And then whoever puts the money in those hands is the direction in which we're going to go. Now, that doesn't mean we can't fight it. That doesn't mean that we can't win. That doesn't mean that we can't show them otherwise. But that is what's going to make it very, very difficult. That's what's going to set the odds against us like no other. We're going up against the biggest institutions on the planet.
And that's exactly right. It's somewhat inescapable because the single phrase that binds so much is monetary sovereignty, right? Can we have monetary sovereignty with our own wealth, or is everything mother may I? And the fact is, the folks that might have a banking cartel really don't want to see that happen because that's bad for business. So there is a very core issue that's being handled there, and it will come to battle of different types, right? It's going to be regulatory.
Let me bring up somebody who's going to really add something awesome to this conversation. This is my buddy there over at the DGens. Zenith, what's happening, bud? How you doing?
Oh, wow. No pressure, right? I got to add something really good right now, huh?
Now.
Thanks, Cap. Hey, I will say, RJ was talking about language earlier. He was talking about the Constitution and some like American freedoms and talking about how crypto has his back up against the wall, especially the Hexicans. And I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. I know what we're talking about here. But shoot, man, regulation, yeah, that was a bit, I'll be honest, I thought that was a bit of a hot take he had, which is that the FTX debacle prolonged the regulation. If anything, I feel like that's kind of the natural course that it's taken, which is that FTX was such an earth-shattering event, and they were rather tied into the political system, dare I say, to the point where it's like, it was kind of earth-shattering to see it just fail in the way that it did.
Well, I think that's
pretty
And you want to know what's even, what, let me shatter this even more.
Let's hear it.
We have CZ to thank for that. Literally, we have CZ to thank for that. He's the one that set FTX up, and he's the one that put his foot out and tripped them as they were running by. So everybody needs to understand that CZ is the one who did that.
Do you know why he did it?
Well,
why did he do it? Tell us.
What's your opinion on why he did it? Because I have my own.
Yeah, and I'll admit, all of this, let's call it in the realm of opinion, because we can throw theses out there, but it gets very tricky to piece things together. It would seem to be that he would do that because there were a handful of people vying for, primary control of crypto throughout the world, right? And CZ had Binance, obviously, and there's a handful of others. And now we got this U.S. entrant. How is it that an SBF can come in and in the span of a year and a half have something that could take on the role of going up against CZ, even though they didn't have CFOs, they didn't know what they were doing on so many fronts, all this stuff. And yet that magically appeared with no scrutiny by the regulators. In fact, nothing but celebrity treatment. How could that be? Well, if you peel through I think it's 109 different company structures that are behind FTX and were intertwined with a lot of political connections, you think that they probably had a hand in some of that. So there was an attempt to get a U.S. entity to be able to compete with SBF, with CZ. And I think CZ got word that maybe they were working to come down on him somehow. And when he realized that he was kind of being set up for something, he said, "You're going to set me up, I'll set you up."
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's the big part of it. And I think that also CZ was jogging, winning the race. He was just like, I got this shit. I'm going to the finish line. You guys I'm the man. And then Sam came running by him, and CZ's like, wait a minute. Wait, I know what you're doing because I'm doing the same thing. So you're bullshitting. And then when I think that, like you said, when they started coming after him, he's like, you're going to go after your boy. Cause watch, I'm going to expose him. And CZ went in, fixed the market, dumped the market, killed FTX, set the bank run up. Everything else is history from there. So I think, yeah, CZ was pissed, getting overrun, and said, I know the game you're playing because I'm playing the same game, because he was doing the same thing.
That's right.
The
And
exact
there's a
same
little
thing.
double crossing going on there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he said, I'm going to get you first before you get me. And he did.
CZ tanked FTX by tanking the FTT token itself,
Mhm.
because CZ made that tweet. Oh shit, I want to say it was like early November 2022. I want to say CZ made the tweet public that the FTT token is largely backed and held by Alameda Capital, or Alameda Research, which was the capital holdings for FTX. And when CZ put that out there, he was like, "Hey, this market's fake. Like, these people are pumping their own token, and it's all in their hands." So
And he
that
dumped
was
a bunch of it too.
Exactly. He was. I'm not gonna say he was the straw that broke the camel's back, but he was at least the first bit of water through the broken dam. So there's that.
Let's not be fooled that any of that shenanigans between Alameda and FTX was due to lack of regulation somewhere. No, I think we have plenty of U.S. law against fraud. This was not about lack of regulation. And what they were doing was fraudulent in terms of.
There was no real oversight there, is what was
Right.
real going on.
Now, you don't really think a lot of other companies could just broadly get away with that, do you? It's really odd how that flagrant of a fraudulent set of activities could go without any scrutiny.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a couple that might be able to get away with it if they have a couple shell corporations in the way, but you know, I don't know.
That's right.
It's a little tinfoil hat theory. But
And
I'm
then
just saying
there's
it's
a
possible.
handful of them that have already set the game up in their favor, that they don't even have to worry about that stuff. Hey, we got another D-Gen coming in. Everybody, Mr. McGettit. What's up, dude?
Hey guys, how's it going? How's it going?
Hey there.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man. Good to
It's
see you.
D-Gen hour.
It's DJ.
D-Gen.
Zenith, what the hell? I come in here and all of a sudden you put that on. What's going on here? What am I
We're
missing?
talking about shell corporations trying to fraud the government out of regulating them so they can do whatever they want. And they can be SPF 2.0, baby. That's what we're talking about.
I think RH calls that regulatory capture. He uses a phrase for that and how that
There
works.
it is. There it is. Yeah.
Regulatory. Oh, lovely. Well, I will say the regulations are definitely good for encouraging businesses to start up, so we just want friendly ones. That's the main concern. And with
I mean, regulations are a good stick. You need the carrot, though, which is the other half of it. And I would argue that might be like tax subsidies or breaks or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We're seeing this first. We're seeing this firsthand with our company. And Bill, I don't know if I might be out of bounds here saying this, but we're essentially got debanked at our first bank because they got wind of our crypto activity, and so we kind of scrambled. Okay, we have to do everything. We have to do as much as we can on chain. Like paying contractors, funding from our own crypto bags, our company, and then we're spending lots on attorneys to make sure the SEC. I mean, it's just it's funny because I wasn't like very political before crypto, and it's like we have no choice. Our livelihood-
Now, how challenging was that to build using crypto?
Well, if I didn't have my co-founder here, it wouldn't be possible because I'm a young guy. I don't have like the estate size that my co-founder does, and so I mean, I guess we're lucky in that we have the luxury to route around all these centralized gatekeepers. But I'm just thinking about all the creators that don't have that luxury right now, and all the innovation that's being stifled. Because people like me who don't have a C3 Works as a co-founder to help me like avoid all the landmines. Yeah, it's doable for us, but I'm sure there's lots of people who are
It's
not
difficult.
NGMI because of it. Yeah.
That's a really important point, and I think it's worth everybody understanding this because it should be a hopeful thing about the community, and that is this: every strike that comes from some adversary strengthens us somehow. And what we're seeing here is the choke point 2.0, which we probably understand what that's all about, where regulators spook banks into taking action to cut off perfectly legal activities that they don't like just because they don't want them to succeed, et cetera, Silvergate Bank, all this stuff, right? So as they do that, there's a response from the users. And we adjust and we find new ways we don't roll over and die. We say, okay, now I know what's coming at us. We're not going to go back and keep doing that over and over again. We're going to adjust. And those become permanent adjustments. And over time, that integrates into a community that's much stronger with new ways of doing things. And suddenly you get these emergent behaviors and properties and results that complexity theory, if you've ever heard of that, begin to sort of speak to. And I think that's a bit of what we're seeing here.
Yep.
So I've never actually heard about complexity theory. Do you want to run me through that one real quick?
Well, I'll give you the simple example is economists, for example. How do they model the stock market, for example? They treat it like a big machine, and they treat it like it's a log normal distribution, and there's tail risks, right? You hear that sort of phrase, and there's certain probabilities of different events occurring. They act like it's a giant machine, and we can just sort of predict what's going to happen. But instead, when you have a complex system, and you can look up complexity theory and go learn a little bit about the details of it, that's a different way of modeling a system where you have individual actors that are all acting independently according to the self-driven types of motivations they have.
A little bit different too, yeah.
Right. And so you can't model all those independent actors that have path dependency, right? The way that you got to a certain result matters, not just where you happen to be at the moment, right? So you model that differently. And when you start to see small changes of inputs to a system like that, you can have dramatic changes in outputs. So the results are very different when you're dealing with a complex system. An avalanche of snow in a strange way, right? Little snowflakes coming down. You can't tell me which snowflake's going to cause the fracture and what that fracture is going to do. But you can stand at the bottom and go, this isn't a good spot to be.
Yeah.
You can discern, even if you can't model exactly how it's going to go. Anthills are another example. Beehives are examples. They're all independent actors, the bees, and yet you can watch how they function in response to certain inputs, and radically different outputs can happen. So it's a great thing to see, because people are independent actors, and market participants are independent actors motivated by their things. They'll respond to certain things, but we're not a bunch of machines where people at the top can throw levers and get expected results. It's modeled far more by a complexity theory, where small changes in inputs can have radically big effects on the outcomes.
Which is...
That sounds... Go for it.
Go ahead, Zan.
I was gonna say that sounds like butterfly effect, but part of what you're describing there sounds kind of like what we got from good old Frederick Hayek here, which is Road to the Serfdom. He talks about the idea that individual actors closest to the problems are going to have the best answers and the best solutions to what's going on.
That's right. So
effect on their locality.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I'm sure he would have agreed that complexity theory would be a better way to model markets than the types of things that, say, banks do to just decide whether or not things are good.
Or the Federal Reserve.
Or the Federal Reserve.
And that's what crypto is doing. You know, it's very complex, but it started out with just solving one problem. And that one problem was just the double spend, peer-to-peer transaction over the internet without intermediaries, blah, 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 blah. So that was the first iteration. Then Ethereum came out. Let us program these. And now we're into DeFi, and people are taking that complexity and taking all of the extraneous things that are out there, like you said, market sentiment, individual things that people do, and you're actually programming these into the cryptos themselves. And they're becoming more and more complex and solving more and more problems and becoming more and more robust. Crypto is not what I think that they think it is, which is just that peer-to-peer store of value / scarcity model programmed into it. It's getting very, very complex, and it's starting to solve a lot of problems. And that, again, is what I want to expose. I want people to see what we're doing here and what type of tools are coming to the marketplace for, you know, like you said, the average human to have access to these. Everybody should have access to these tools. And if we can make better money, better markets, better systems out of it, then we've got to get behind those and get regulators looking at those things and saying, hey, okay, it's not just this peer-to-peer transaction thing with the stored value. It's very complex.
It might not just be a complexity issue. I think it could also just be a volume or scale issue as well, which is that it's something we see whenever the Ethereum gas fees get very high, which is people complain about the gas fees and just the blockchain can't handle the throughput. But then conversely, at the same time, something like Bitcoin, which is like theoretically the encryption method is a little simpler than everything else that's available right now. But at the same time, it's not necessarily a complexity issue. And then again, the cost of operating on that network, it keeps going up and up and up. So what you get to with things like PulseChain and other blockchains that are really trying to innovate, like the Phantom blockchain comes to mind, whereas their claim to fame is that they're trying to make it so that their data storage is shorter, more efficient, so that they can do that to have faster throughput. That's more of an efficiency argument. But at the same time, I think what we're getting to with DeFi and adoption at this point, it's a depth, it's a volume, it's a scale thing. It is ensuring that the markets are large enough to be able to handle the volume in transactions and the actual amount of like economic energy, if you want to say, coming into a system. Because we've overloaded Bitcoin and Ethereum previously before upgrades to the point that they were almost unfeasible for the average Joe to deal with. Like larger institutions can still pay those like $100 gas fees, but like the everyday retail investor is not looking to pay that gas fee on Ethereum just to make a simple swap of like $200 when the gas fee is eating up like 33% of that entire transaction. So
yeah, also talking about what we literally just when we just talked about this on the book club, right? About like how Visa. Yeah, right. But how Visa does what? It's like 20 million or 2 million transactions a second, whereas it's a lot. Whereas Solana breaks down and does like what, 2,000, and it's the fastest, you know. So
true. Shoot, who was the it was the blockchain that Gary Gensler used to be part of, Algorand. They released that video advertisement making all the jokes about the different blockchains, and the joke about Solana was, oh yeah, you want to pay for Solana at the grocery store? Oh, sorry, blockchain down right now, can't take it.
That was a good one. I watched that.
That was very good.
Oh man. No, and talking about like complexities too, think about it this way. I think currently what's happening in the crypto space is we're very early, right? Now, if you were to look at like let's go all the way back to like how society was created, right? Society was just simply a couple of huts, a couple of families living together. You know, let's work together, you know, gather the berries, hunt the food, and then there we go. It's as easy as that, right? That is super simplistic. There's not a lot of politics involved. And now you come through 12,000 years later. And where are we at right now with this global marketplace, global politics, just everything is the entire world. And just one singular wrong move, Israel and Lebanon, and the whole world blows up, you know? And it's just so complicated at this point. And I kind of think right now, crypto's done a really good job at, especially last cycle, like improving things to be more friendly for people who just don't get it, right? Because as I just got done saying in our book club, you know, it started off with you had to go into like the control panel and randomly type, or not randomly, but, you know, type in freaking computer programming and able to use a miner for Bitcoin. There you go. Now you're in crypto. Good job. You know, and now you skip ahead. What was that? Like 12 years later. And it's, no, it's almost 20 years now. Yeah, it's 20 years. Whew, wow. But yeah, 20 years later. And we have the same thing as like E-Trade, you know, over here at Coinbase, where people can, you know, simply, hey, here's my bank account, here's my name, my email, things like that. And now you can go buy cryptos. Good job. You know,
that's true. Nate, the only thing left out of there was that society was also formed to stop getting eaten by the saber-toothed tigers. But I mean, we're a bit far away from that. C3, are we hitting the complexity point in the way that you think we are? And I guess a question for you is that as we move further into the future, especially with crypto technology, do you think that the interface for the average user is going to get more complex or less complex?
Oh no, it'll get less complex. It'll get
because we'll build
right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the first time we used email on the internet in '92 or something, you had to have a command line editor and C compilers, and you had to do all this stuff, and then you finally send an email. Nobody could do that, right? And now you do it with a swipe. So there will be layers of user interface that make this simpler, and the underlying protocols will still be there, just like TCP/IP, right?
That's fair. But there might be a subtle second question in there, which is, do you think the complexity is going to get lower, or that the average understanding and literacy of the crypto user is just going to get higher to meet that bar?
There'll be a distribution, like everywhere. Okay. How many people know how the engine of their car works?
Yeah,
very few. But they can drive. They don't need to know how the engine works.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
But engines have gone from, a very simple, like you can look at a 2-stroke engine and go, oh, okay, I can see how this thing works, to when you go and look at an L1 engine right now and you go, oh crap, this is very, very complex, computerized and fuel injected and all this other stuff. It's where we're going to go. They're going to build tools and frameworks that will make all this complexity. The complexity has to be built first, and then the tools and frameworks to simplify them and make them holistically understandable is going to come from, building on top of that. So when you say we're early, we're not really early in the, crypto's been around for 13 years, but as far as it going where it's supposed to go, I think there's still a lot more complexities that need to be built. And then there's a lot of framework and tools that need to be built around those to simplify them. Because let's face it, like today, you can't just give a normal person, you can give a normal person access to a bank account. It's simple for them to do that and go and log into the back end of their bank account and see their balances and all that kind of stuff. Not so in crypto. We can't do that and say, hey, here you go. This is what you're going to do. You're going to go, here's your Coinbase account. And it's like, what in the hell is this? No, well, it's an exchange too, and it's a wallet, and you really don't want to use that wallet. You got to go get this wallet over here. Okay, well, I got this wallet over here. How come I can't understand my balances? How much money is in here? I can't see the transactions. Well, yeah, here's this thing, Etherscan. Well, now, right, their head blows up. And that's the problems that we have in crypto, is it's not as simple as TradFi. Like, we can set people up in TradFi very simply and very easily, but in crypto, we're not there yet. We've got to get away from the crypto bro thing, and we've got to start catering to building tools and frameworks that are going to make crypto simpler for everybody. And that's when we'll start seeing some adoption. Right now, it's too scary. Like, people own it, but a lot of people don't even know they own it. I got a buddy that he had me, hey, help me with this. I've got this Ethereum thing and I really want to get into your Hex crypto. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what you got. Well, this is what he told me I have. Now, this is 3 years ago. And he still to this day doesn't know how to move that crypto, doesn't know how to extract the value if he really needs it, and needs to call me and cry on the phone as to what to do, and that's not tools and frameworks that make things simple for all of us. And that's got to come eventually, but it's not.
Well, it does, but I think it's at least a two-dimensional problem. One dimension is what you just said. As the tools and infrastructure get easier, then it cuts through the difficulty and more people can use it. That's one dimension. But here's another one. As the consequences for not getting involved and not learning start to go up, and they start to get crushed in the system they're in, right, they get less complacent and they say, I got to figure this out. So the combination of those improvement of tooling and growing consequences of not getting involved. Both.
Okay, so there's two things with that, right? So with people getting crushed and then needing to learn that they have to get in, this is where people like us come in and we start teaching. Okay, so there's that. But the other side of things is I've been beating this drum since literally the beginning of 2024, is that probably the biggest problem with PulseChain currently, right? And this is kind of, again, what we talked about just on our last stream over here was it's too complicated because you have to use a bridge, right? the fact that you have to get on chain and actually use a bridge is going to be scary for people, right? So that's why it's difficult to get for the normie, right, to get into PulseChain. Okay. And so what we need to do, it's the biggest problem that PulseChain has right now. So what we need to do is we need to be able to create some kind of front face that looks like a literal safe exchange, or just a couple of green buttons like first you click this, first you click that. How many dollars do you want to put in here? Is this the bank stuff? Okay, cool. Click that. Here's your email for your confirmation, and then have something super friendly. Now I can tell you right now that the Pulse bridge is very unfriendly because it has like all the nodes, you know, that need to pass and all that. Oh my gosh, it's been 40 minutes. Where's my money? It hasn't shown up yet. Oh my God, have I heard that one? Okay, what you need is what you need is a nice, friendly little, hey, don't worry, we're passing the gates. We got to open up this gate, then we're gonna open up that, and have like a fun little cute animation or something while it's going on, and have like the just nice, friendly fonts and lettering up there saying, oh, it could take up to 40 minutes or maybe even possibly an hour. Don't be alarmed. It just means that a lot of people are coming through here and things are closed up. So just be patient, put the phone down or something like that, right? It needs to be as friendly as possible, but also like stupid proof. The least amount of moves that a person has to take is going to be the way that people will actually do the thing. The path of least resistance. That's how humans work.
Yeah, and the banks even have, you know, a 12-hour wait to wire money. You know, you can have up to a 12-hour wait to wire money. So it's not that people can't wait. It's just the process in which it's done. And, you know, let's face it, you know, the banks have more credibility in the real world than the crypto space does, especially when 90% of it is scams. So
yeah, I'm confident about like the tools just getting way better because TradFi tooling is so great and they're built on like such a horribly slow, onerous system. Like when everything is cash and physical records are at the end of the day what's backing all these like, you know, fintech tools. You know, if the TradFi experience can be good, like how can we not be at least as good, given that we're digitally native and we're not tied to physical stuff. Like I just like after enough time, it seems like I think this is, and it's important like that we you know make the UX better because I think RG3, like you were saying, I think this actually is going to determine whether we win this battle or not, at least in the US, because if it's really easy to self-custody, it's going to mean a higher percentage of people are doing it. And I think we need a critical mass of people to be self-custodied and to be, you know, high agency and to be running their life on chain. So I don't know, I'm optimistic. I think for me, I think so Nate, you're talking about the bridge. One thing that comes to mind for me is like the smart contract wallets. Like we really like the Gnosis safe, using that for like our company treasury. But the UX is still like not great. I don't know, at least in the future evolution of PulseChain, or, you know, I don't know what layer of the stack it's going to live at, but it obviously needs to be decentralized. And I think if we can get smart contract wallets, that's like kind of a foundational piece that I think we'll be able to do interesting things at like higher layers if we can get that right.
RJ, I think you bring up a good question there, which is that what's the difference between the banks and cryptocurrency when it comes from ease of use? Not just the UX, but the actual interaction process itself. And I think part of the answer to that is that the banks have a certain amount of scale and interoperability so that in the case that you as a user have some sort of issue, it's theoretically possible to walk things back because at the end of the day, a lot of the banks do very, very digital transfers and whatnot. It's not like physically passing the gold bar from one person to another through some sort of like third-party handoff. The unfortunate side is that when it comes to crypto, if you're operating on blockchain, everything is very, very permanent. And the only way to undo transactions is to operate on the good faith of whatever other wallet you just accidentally sent things to by mistake. As opposed to the banks, which is that if there is an error, the banks have that ability to kind of like maybe eat the profitability a little bit in order to retain customers, but also the interoperability with each other, which is like, hey, there's an error over here. We need to undo this transaction, walk it back. Can't walk back the blockchain. Once the blocks are published, they're published.
Yeah, and it's years and years of human interaction and humans being used to that being the process in which they do their finance. Let's not forget that factor too. It just, you can learn Windows or you can learn Mac, but once you've learned one, it's hard to go to the other. But they're just as easy to operate once you know. And I think that's an element in this too, is that it's just the known thing that people use.
So when the internet first started up, you had to first off know what the website was, right? And then for you to actually search, you had to like actually just type stuff in, and it was very unfriendly looking for most people. It was definitely not what we have today. And then Google searches and things like that, what do you call it, search engines started coming out, and then people, even though it was just kind of flat, it wasn't as friendly looking, at least it was a tool that people were like, hey, at least I can use this, I can use this and I'm actually achieving the results that I want very easily, right? I type in, I want to learn about, hammering a nail. Bam, there you go. Here's all the searches for it. Cool. Now I can learn how to hammer a nail. And so we need friendly and easy to use, or even if it's no, because the search engines were extremely easy to use. You simply just type stuff in. So I think we got to get to that point. However, for the internet alone, it took, how long did it take for us to get there? It had to have been another like 20 years, because this was back in the 90s. I'm going back to, right?
91 is when internet traffic became usable for the public, I think.
Yeah, and they were working on the internet since the freaking 60s at that time. Right. But like actual with personal computers and stuff that people could actually use, it was over 20 years before it actually became like search engines and like you could use it, and now 20 years later, look at us here. Holy cow. So I think it's an interesting comparison of like where crypto is at currently and how it's becoming more friendly for the normie, right? And kind of how the internet started and how that was working too, because the majority of the time crypto was very unfriendly to the normal person. And then in 20 years later, so I think that we're kind of following the same sort of line or path, I should say.
Yeah.
But my concern, the forces we're up against are way bigger maybe than, the forces that the internet had to contend with. Cause like we're talking about money and, I wasn't around then. That was before I was born, but I presume that we are rustling the feathers of the people at the top, all are the most powerful.
They didn't have to deal with gatekeeping much in the early days of the internet. We are being gate kept. I mean, I've worked in this space for a while now, and everything from the movie to YouTube to all the things that we've done here in the political world, the gatekeeping is insane. What's going on out there, and I've seen it in all different aspects. So we are definitely up against something completely different. And that's why I say that we are in for a big fight, because they're not going to be friendly to us. It's not about us overcoming technical obstacles or overcoming social obstacles. It's about, the people that we're going up against, we're about to take from them. And they don't want that at all. And these are the biggest, most powerful organizations on the planet. Hey, everybody, I'm going to bring up, he's in the green room right now. Dr. H, what's happening?
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Hey,
nice to see you all. Glad to join you.
Good to see you, my man.
Thanks for coming by.
Yeah. Especially these chaps that weren't even born when personal computers were around.
What? 90s?
I had a ZX81, so it was first developed in 1981, and that was when you had to spend a weekend programming to get a dot to move across the screen.
Yeah.
Holy
with a cassette tape.
Yeah, well, that's from a magazine. That was before the cassette tapes. You had a magazine. But one of the reasons I got into crypto was in 1994. Friends of mine were submariners. I was in the military, And one guy had, because submariners get paid a lot of money, and one guy had the latest stuff. He always had the very latest stuff. And he said to me, "Oh, I bought this computer and I'm on the internet." And we were like, "What's it like? What's it like?" Because no one could like afford like the rig. And he said, "Oh, it's the biggest flea market in the world. It's a load of crap." And just like 20 years later, Sears tumbles. You know, all these major stores tumble because of the development and the power of the internet. But even in that time, back in 94, I was 24, 25. But even then, I couldn't have invested into the internet and extracted value because that didn't exist. So, of course, when I learned about crypto 3 years ago, I'm like, there it is. There's my chance. Here is the opportunity, because it's the exchange of value online. That is the beauty of crypto, and it's exchange of value, which is separate from the government. You know, it's separate from any, because all currencies are tied to a government. So what we've got here is something that's moving outside of the government. I mean, obviously, we still got to pay our taxes because the roads still need building and all the rest of that good stuff. But we can exchange our value outside of government control. So anyway,
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I remember, you know, the Sears catalog was in everybody's house, right? Like that was the internet. Like that was.
Man, I love Sears.
That was, you know, eBay. It was even your porn, to be honest. So everybody remembers the Sears catalog who's been around here long enough.
Make it sound like you're staring at the lingerie section in the Sears catalog. RG3.
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
They didn't even have a lingerie section, but it was just an underwear section. That's how bad it was.
The men's boxers. Oh, sorry. I was in the Navy.
On top of that, it sounds like you were on the subs too, where it's not even Navy. It's we're under the surface for months at a time. That's a different breed.
Yeah, my friends were submariners. I was on aircraft carriers and frigates, destroyers, all that good stuff. Yeah,
Okay,
I like the sun too much. I like the sun way too much. Like Monte Carlo, which is a segue. So, Captain, can I show my show on Sunday? Would that be all right?
Of course.
Or
Go
should
right
I
on
leave
ahead.
Oh, you're a star. Now, the last episode of The Richest Man in Babylon's been had, and it was the best episode. And Captain RG3 features in it. He gets a shout out because he was not the sponsor of that show, but he gets a shout out halfway through. That was the last one I did, Captain. But it's coming to an end now, and I've started something called Monte Carlo or Bust, because the Sunday Abundance show is about wealth and health principles in the crypto space and beyond. So Monte Carlo or Bust is where I've got a wallet with $1,000 in, which I invested. I shot the on the 12th of September, which was almost the pico bottom, completely by coincidence, because I felt quite sick when I was investing because everything was low, and it's now 2.7x. So I'm really chuffed with that. And we're gonna. So the whole idea of Monte Carlo or Bust is crypto investing strategies for beginners in action. So what you were talking about earlier, Nate, actually keeping things simple so people can understand it. There's $1,000 in a wallet, and let's see what happens to it. And I'm actually going to use so I've bought $500 of Pulse and $250 each of eHex and pHex, because a little bit later in the show we'll do some liquidity providing just for the beginners. So it's just real basic principles just to show them how to get going and why, and talk about the pitfalls. And also it's a massive education for me as well. So thanks for letting me share that, Captain. And that's 12 noon on Sunday, every Sunday, 12 noon Eastern. It's the Abundance Show.
Nice. I like that.
Thanks.
I'm sorry. I'm reading. Go right on ahead. Continue.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So this Sunday we're winding up. It's actually the historical actually what happened in Babylon, because I don't know if you realize The Richest Man in Babylon is a book written in the 30s with lots of small financial stories, and so it's lots of financial principles which can apply as easily in crypto as anything else. The last one, chapter 10, which it was dedicated to the captain, is to do with the power of hard work, and that's the key. The secret key is the power of hard work. So I'm fortunate I'm in a job that I love doing, but I do remember Richard saying 3 years ago when I first got into the space, some guy was saying, "Oh, thank you, Richard. Thank you. You've enabled me to retire, and now I'm going to be a day trader." And he kind of said, "Yeah, you probably don't want to do that because then you're just using all your crypto to live. So how about you carry on working?" And I was like, "Yeah, that kind of makes a lot of sense." And I'm fortunate I'm in a position I like my job. I intend to keep working, which is why I can't do as much streaming as I'd like. But I want to. This is my. I'm an enthusiastic amateur in the world of crypto. No financial advice.
Never is for any of us. I will say, I think your day job's very important because you're one of the people that single-handedly keeps RG3 going and kicking every day.
Right?
Gotta help realign that man.
Oh,
I
but
found
do
him a
like
good chiropractor
the
as well.
idea
I
of
found him a
teaching
good
people
chiropractor.
abundance. That's something we definitely need around this space, is people understanding what abundance is versus
Yeah.
a theory of lack, because there's so much out there for all of us. There's so much more room for growth. There's so much more money that can come into the space. And for everybody running around in a bear market, crying at the crumbs and screaming, yelling at each other, it's not a good look, and it doesn't help. Having a mindset different of abundance will put you in a place where you'll be building, you'll be adding, you'll be putting value into the system. You'll be looking at what you should be doing during a bear market versus crying over spilled milk, and I think that's a real waste of the talent in this community, because we have so many smart, intelligent, go-getting sons of guns in this community. If half the people out there that would bitch and whine and moan and complaining and out there trying to be captain save a pleb would go in and start building things and do better stuff, we'd have a much better outlook on our charts, I'll bet you.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the other thing is, it's to do with health and wealth principles in the crypto space and beyond, because abundance isn't just money, because it's no good having like millions in the bank if your health is failing massively, or if your relationships are shot away and no one wants to speak to you. So that's why, Think and Grow Rich and how to win friends and influence people are just so vital. Gives you those tools outside of, just generating finance, because that's going to drive you crazy. And if you lose your mind, I've came back from it, but it's a hard place to come back from.
The whole health is wealth concept is not lost on the Hexicans, I don't think. Shoot, I've had the opportunity to hang out with Corey Geary on stream a good bit, and he's really been preaching the whole health is wealth business as well. And even stuff like we read Millionaire Fastlane today. It talked about wealth is having relationships, health, and freedom. So I think this is something that people have really been keying into. What exactly your personal definition is going to change from person to person. But at the end of the day, I think everyone is kind of smartening up to the idea that, look, if your knees don't work but you got money, unless you're buying new knees, it's going to be a worse quality of life. So you got to figure out what's important to you, whether or not it's just the numbers on the screen going up, or whether or not it's you being able to keep that 8-minute mile still going, or what.
Hey, we got another Hexican in the green room, everybody. Hexistani, what's going on, Hexistani D? How you doing?
What's up, Dylan?
What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey,
Dylan, how you doing?
welcome.
Pretty good. How are we feeling with this pump, gentlemen?
This
we got a
pump
pump
has
going on.
single-handedly ruined all the research I did for our big show on Sunday. It has thrown off my entire portfolio balance, and it even has me just like disregarding all the TA I've done on the hex charts alone in the last month.
Yeah, you
But
can't
this
do
is all a
TA when
good
you go
thing.
straight up, yeah?
Exactly. Like there's a meme of this fat cat. It just looks like he woke up just staring up at the sun, just like that was me checking the hex price this morning. Like I was like, I didn't know we had another 25% in us, but apparently we did in one day.
Yeah.
We got another player coming in. Hey, everybody at Giga, what's up?
Uh-oh.
Got my finger on the button.
Yo, Giga, what's up?
Bro, I don't have my camera with me.
Bruh, use your phone, dog.
Hey, you guys are all going to be on a soda video next now, right?
It's entirely possible.
I was already on that damn thing.
What does that matter?
What are you guys
You
chatting about? I
invite
just saw
better.
the link.
We're talking about how Ink is getting shafted versus Hex, Giga. I'm sure you've seen.
Ink. Pulse is the one getting shafted right now. The Hex to Pulse ratio just hit all-time highs, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, have you seen what Pulse is doing?
Well, the answer
Pulse
is less than everything else.
Pulse X. Pulse against Pulse X, and then Hex against Pulse. Those are the two.
Yeah, so quick, story time. Giga and I made a bet at the bottom of the market
At
that
the very bottom.
literally the day, right? Pretty crazy. We made a bet, gentleman's bet, small purse. I was of the belief that Hex would perform better than Ink, and he was of the belief that Ink would perform better than Hex, right? Till December 1st, okay? So ever since we placed the bet, Hex has been running, and Ink has not been running. So, Ink is down. Let me see here.
Dude, are you able to pull up the chart for them on the day we bet? It literally marked the bottom of the ratio. Like, it's been up only for Hex.
September 7th. If you look on the chart and go to September 7th, you'll see what we're talking about, okay? But I can't because I got my phone sitting here. But the ratio has gone down 61% versus Hex since the bet.
I'm
pretty
looking
wild.
at the Hex chart. On September 7th, we were sitting at about 37 or not 1 penny, but a decimal place below that, like 37% of a penny. 2 days after that, it hits the absolute bottom at about 35. And then since then, we've done a, 406% increase.
Pretty wild.
Beautiful.
Super casual. What was the other one you said? Incentive token?
Yeah, so go to the Hex Inc. chart and then price it in, instead of USD, price it in Hex.
It'd be priced in Hex, yeah.
September 7th on incentive token, we we're just between a double bottom. It's sitting at about $1.36.
No, go to, at the very top. Are you on Deck Screener?
I'm on gopulse.com.
No, go to Deck Screener, bro. Here.
All right, let's go to Deck Screener.
What's your
Hex incentive token, you said?
Yeah. What's your Telegram? I'll send it to you right now.
Yeah, so the pair on Deck Screener only has like $3,000 of liquidity.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
It's to show you the ratio, basically.
Yeah.
At Zenith Crypto. Let's see. Hex. Wow, there's a million.
Zenith Crypto. No profile picture, right? That's a fucking YouTube link. What am I doing?
My profile picture should be the picture of Gru from what is it? Despicable Me, like in front of the moon with a Hex logo over his face.
Bro, what? I'm definitely spelling this right. Hold on, let's see.
Here,
That's Fleetwood Mac again.
I got you. There it is. Yeah.
Okay.
Bro,
That's
what
the
is
one.
it sending you Fleetwood Mac for? What the fuck? That's Fleetwood Mac, dude. That
Hey,
is
look, if
not
you like
dude.
Fleetwood Mac, that's cool too.
No, dude. What? Did you get a Deck Screener
Yo.
link?
No, I got a
did not.
Fleetwood Mac link.
Bro, that didn't paste. I just copied the Deck Screener link to it and pasted an address. Like,
What
straight
the
up.
fuck is going on? All right, there we go.
I'll put it
All
in
right,
this-
there it is.
There it is.
There you go.
There we go. A in the private chat. Attaboy.
Sorry.
This is incentive versus Hex. Yep. Hex is up. Very much so.
Mhm.
Ooh.
There's still time though. Still time to win that bet.
We got 2 months ish.
Oh, bro, he's cooked.
Look, guys, you're only like 1/3 of the way through your bet. You got a lot of time to go.
Bro, okay, so
A lot
the
more people
bet
can buy
is
Hex and keep pumping it. It's possible.
if it goes to the ratio of 611, it has to break over that, right? So he needs,
600, yeah.
611?
He needs-
Oh, you're cooked, man.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
cooked.
The
let's
only
see.
hope is Richard does some magical foo-foo stuff and like makes it a DAO and all this, you know.
He needs a 280% return in 57 bars.
for incentive token against Hex.
Correct.
Against
So-
Hex. Yeah.
Even if we're talking about Richard pulled some crazy stuff, which token do you think Richard is going to pump? Incentive token or his pride and joy, Hex. I think I have bad news for you, Giga. I got bad news, my man.
Well, there's an argument to be made there, right? And the argument is that anyone who comes in with stable coins is disproportionately pumping Hex and Ink, and basically the argument is that capital could flow easier into Ink, although capital does flow easier out of Ink as well, just because you have multimillionaires farming it every day. So if you look at some of these sellers, it's just like 10K a day, just mashing the Ink chart down. But if you saw the run up from January to I think it was March, I mean the move was impressively fast and high, better than the rest. And that's basically the gamble. Is it if there was any kind of a move to kind of bring utility to Ink other than make it an infinite dump token, then you could probably see some really ridiculous ratio gains.
Like maybe if farms came back or something, right?
Oh, what was it?
Someone's reaching, man. Someone's reaching.
Yeah, seriously. No, we're about to round trip that ratio all the way back, boy.
Nah, I mean,
don't look good, Giga.
The Ink contract itself says, hey, this thing is going to be given to a DAO.
There's merit to Giga's argument here.
The contract has a right function to change the inflation rate. Right now, it's 1 a second, just flat. So, I mean, there's some things that could change.
You're sounding like one of my P-Dye bros, man.
No, it does, though. It legit does.
Yeah, yeah. Giga's right. He's not bullshit. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't say you're bullshit. I'm just saying you're sounding like you're loading up a bunch of hopium in that spoon, bro.
A bunch of red lines.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. I mean, if you want to talk about inflation, though, because incentive token does what? 1 incentive token per second, and then Hex does 37% APY. It's
yeah, but you got Hex locked up for decades at a time, right? Whereas Ink inflation is available on the market whenever it's needed, Bitcoin. Right? So
Bitcoin.
Yeah, so it's a different type of inflation, so you have to factor that in as well.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Can I ask a quick question on the subject of inflation? I was thinking about that because I ended a stake with eHex and PHEX at exactly the same time. I mean, obviously, there's a massive difference. I mean, 2,000-fold difference in the cost of ending the stake. So, but I've got a lot of eHex, so I was thinking of putting it into a liquidity pool at the moment with because it's 5.2 to 1. With a notion that it's going to kind of normalize around about 4, but this is a wild guess, stab in the dark. And it's long term anyway, because I like both of them. I don't really care. But obviously, if I wanted to get more PHEX out, I could end it later on when it goes back towards 4 to 1. Is that correct thinking, or have I missed something there?
I mean, you could, but a lot of people like to just swap their eHex for PHEX. If it's no difference to you.
So are you asking about
it's 5 to 1, so that's definitely not going to happen.
So you're asking about ratio trading eHex to PHEX, right?
No, I'm asking about liquidity providing, because then it's so. In other words, it's like instead of staking in the eHex system and locking it up and then have the end state, I brought eHex across to PulseChain, and I'm going to put it into a liquidity pair on. I can't remember if it's V1 or V2, and just see what I earn and just see what happens. But of course, as it swings, then those amounts are going to change.
Yeah,
so
you're going to have some permanent loss in your tokens, obviously. But this is the question of what would you rather have more of? Do you want more of Hex or do you want more of Ethereum Hex? So you need to answer that question first, and then the idea is kind of.
So if I wanted more PHEX, now would be the time to stake it. If I am speculating that it's going to move back towards 2.4 before the tweet.
Here's what I would say. When it comes to LPing on this with that type of question, I would say don't, because if you really wanted to, you could wait and just hold both of them, and then as soon as Ethereum Hex goes up, let's say it starts outpacing hex, right? What you could do is literally just market sell into it. It'd be as simple as that. There's no risk at that point of the impermanent loss of, oh no, it looks like E-hex is going up and I actually wanted P-hex instead. It's, you know, I mean, that's kind of the thing right there, is you need to decide what it is you want at that point. Don't try. I would highly suggest, I don't do it, trying to use impermanent loss as a way to gain more coins on another side. That doesn't make much sense to me. When I go to pair anything together, it's always they're going to run up together or very closely together. And kind of like how I just got done doing with my ink and hex pools, I pulled them, right? I pulled them and staked the entirety of my hex bag for my birthday. Haha. Which is going to be really cool. But the reason I did that is because it's very clear now what the first mover is. And the first mover, we've gotten kind of an idea into what the next movers are going to be. Hence why I haven't pulled out all my other farms, right? And so I would much rather not lose my bag of hex for pulse, even though I like them both. In this particular case, with the way that hex is running right now, it's very obvious to me that I can easily lose a lot of my hex right now. And I would rather not do that, even though I still want pulse, right? But I don't want to lose too much of my bag of hex. And so in this particular case, I just staked it out. So yeah, I would just suggest not doing that. Instead, if you were to do something like that, at least get rewarded for doing it in well, I mean, no, it's not going to be worth it in my opinion. I don't think it's going to be worth it.
I think Nate has a very good point here, which is that anytime you get inside of a liquidity pool or a staking position between two tokens, you're going to be dealing with impermanent loss, specifically if you think the ratio is going to change. If you don't think the ratio is going to change, then what that means is you're either betting on nothing to happen overall, or you think that both tokens are going to rise or fall in the same proportion either way. So that's a certain level of prediction that requires there. But the other half of this is that regardless of whether you're trying to go through a liquidity pool or just do a straight swap, you're ultimately playing the crystal ball game, which is we're trying to fight or bet against or bet with the crystal ball and which way price direction is going to move and whatnot. And I know as much as we like to think that we can predict price action, especially with like TA and tracking volume and doing RG3's favorite thing, which is wallet gazing. Exactly. So the fight in the crystal ball is hard enough as it is. If you want to involve the liquidity pairing, it's an advanced strategy for sure. There is payoff, especially if you understand what the payoff is and your probability of success based on market movements probabilities as well. It's an advanced play, but at the end of the day, it's like, in my opinion, if you kind of want a token, I think you might just be better off getting the token that you want to do the thing that you want with it, whether it's staking, whether it's holding, whether it's liquidity providing, whatever, because the more layers you add, it's just more complexity. There you go, C3. Okay, how's that for complexity theory?
I have a question for the group, and it's a question we're facing right now. So we have a protocol that's built on Hex, and we're launching on PulseChain. We keep getting at the question of, are you going to deploy this on Ethereum as well for eHex? And our default answer at the moment is like TBD. We don't know. Part of it is because that ratio you just described. I mean, I guess it depends on how eHex evolves. But if you guys are launching a protocol built on top of Hex, do you launch it on ETH and Pulse today? Does it depend on the circumstance? What's your opinion on that?
Where's the money ratio of price to volume that you're looking for your average transaction? Ethereum is obviously going to be more expensive just as base gas fees. PulseChain is going to be cheaper. If you're looking for more transaction, more throughput as per unit of price, PulseChain is going to be your option. If you're not worried about that and you're just looking for mass adoption and exposure, I think Ethereum's the play.
Where's the money at? So yeah, where's the money at, right?
Where's the community?
They have a point with that. Here's the way that I think about it, right? You're gonna start off with PulseChain, see how it goes. Okay, if you start getting like people absolutely love this and can't get enough of it, move over to Ethereum. There's no reason to like start immediately with PHEX and EHEX together. Kind of build the one layer at a time at that point. That's my thought process on that.
Can I say the quiet part kind of out loud here, which is that?
Hey, Giga.
Well, so long story short, the primary market maker for eHex has abandoned it, and that's the reality. And on-chain data shows that a lot of the big old hex stakers are selling in ETH and are bridging in and then buying PHEX or Pulse.
Yep.
The money is flowing here, and I think it will flow here as the eco pumps even more. You know, we all have EHEX stakes. Obviously, I want to see EHEX do good. I'm just, you know, I think we all do. And I think a lot of the money is just flowing over to PulseChain. So I would definitely put, if you have to allocate resource, I would do it all towards PulseChain.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
so
there was an
Spike-
example. There was an example of a wallet that came in and bought EHEX and PHEX. Let's see when it was. It was around April, mid-April, right? Came in with 800K. Okay. He bought, I want to say 600K of PHEX and then the rest into EHEX, right? So it was roughly the same amount of Hex. Okay. Well, before Hex had a run up, this guy decided he was going to ratio trade between PX and EX, and he's the one that pushed the ratio up to 2 to 1, right? And he's got completely rinsed from this trade, even though he had a lot of capital. Okay, so you need to, you know, even if you have big bags and you're trying to pump that ratio, you're going to get stomped out clearly, because you know, as we can see, the market has chosen, you know, quite clearly that PX is what we're going to use. And EHEX, you know, it'll get pumps, but it's not going to pump like, you know, the Hex on PulseChain, right? So it'll just follow the
here's the other thing,
ecosystem as the abandoned afterthought, right?
So abandoned by Hexicans, right? Because RH says yes, the market has chosen. However, when
and the
large
liquidity
amount-
providers as well. So, you know, if there's no
yeah, when
liquidity,
a large amount of
and
new people come in, though, okay, when the large amount of new people, that's the thing. This is why you would start on PulseChain and then later move on into Ethereum, because what's going to happen as soon as everybody moves into Ethereum, because, you know, got to go chase meme coins and shit. Oh, that's that Hex thing, right? They're going to go straight towards the Ethereum side of things, and then they're like, oh, but this is staking, right? I don't like staking. You know, there's liquid staking now. Why do I have to stake this out for years at this point? And so what this protocol is actually going to allow people to do is be like, oh, no, there's a safe bet here. You can just go ahead. You can stake it out. Yeah. Yes. You know, you can lose stuff and all that, but you can always pull the Hex right back out using this protocol. And if you do that, then it feels safe for the normal person coming in. And if it feels safe for the normal person coming in, they're like, hey, this is a great idea. I'm going to go ahead and stake that now instead. So it's going to be new people. So the kind of what's conflating right now is the idea of all the old people moving over to PulseChain, but you're forgetting that new people are going to be coming in and they're going to be going to Ethereum first because Ethereum is the main net.
so they're going to go to the Uniswap front end and see that Hex is banned, and then they can't buy it. And then they're going to be like, okay, well, how do I get on PulseChain? And then they'll go on PulseChain.
Well, here's the thing. Is it going to stay banned?
Like, come on. I don't
Is it
know.
going to stay banned? And are they
But it
going to
is
go,
right now.
is it only Uniswap? Or are they going to be going to the DEXs eventually? Or sorry, the.
Well, I mean, if they go to 1
eventually?
inch and they're American, they can't buy there either. If they go to Matcha, they can't buy there either because it's banned there too. So, you know, there's multiple reasons why you want to just bring them onto PulseChain, right?
Well, of course, we want to bring them onto PulseChain, obviously.
Yeah.
But the argument is still there to be made, the newer people. And see, what you're bringing up at this point now is an issue of getting people into Hex in general now. Okay? Because if that
There's
is
a
an
barrier to
actual
entry, yes, but it didn't stop us when people didn't know how to use MetaMask, when people didn't really have their own wallets, and they had to learn, okay, well, I have to get off this exchange, I have to download this wallet, I have to go to Uniswap, I have to buy Hex, right? There's one extra step, right? You get off the exchange, you download Uniswap, you download MetaMask or Rabby, and then you enter the bridge and you're in, right? There's
And
one extra step.
Do you know how we would be able to easily make sure that this happens? Making
Explain.
things simple.
What? Sure.
Making things simple. Just like what we just got done talking about, right, RG?
Yeah.
And what I've been
Hey,
yelling
Jordan.
about.
Well, I've been
since the
screaming
beginning.
it forever, you know, and only out of necessity, you know, and it's if you can get a guy like me to figure it out and make it feel easy, then you're going to get your mass adoption. You're gonna get your people
That's
on
right.
Well,
Yeah, there you go.
There's definitely a
For sure.
harsh reality that most people that I'm aware of, a lot of the younger guys in Seoul, a lot of the Zoomers are basically just going straight from exchange to chain. So I think that's obviously a big important step. As much as a lot of, you know, I understand preaching DeFi, but you know it almost is needed to have that those exchanges, because broadly speaking, mass adoption won't occur without that, because people, they don't want to bridge. They don't want to wait a half an hour for their coins. They don't want to do any of that. So
True. Hey, before we direct the question back to RJ and asking if we answered it or not, Dr. H, you got something before you got to go?
No, not really. Just stay abundant. And if you want to learn some abundance principles, come and hang out with me on 12 noon tomorrow. Yeah.
Right on. Thanks for coming, Dr. H.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Never a chore. And thank you for everything, Captain. I wouldn't be streaming if it wasn't for you.
Appreciate you, man.
I love it. So, hey, RJ, the initial question you asked was building a project on Hex, whether to do it on Ethereum or PulseChain. I think one of the ways that you can look at it for a case study is to go look at either the guys that made the Maximus token, or go look at I apologize, I think his name's Alex, the guy that made Icosa and Hedron, right?
Yeah, Mick Werner. Yeah,
it's Alex.
Yeah, those are two very large projects in my mind that both are operating on both and are both built on Hex in some way, shape, or form. So those might be a good weather vane for you, as whether or not it's more worthwhile to build on Ethereum or PulseChain for a Hex-based product.
Right. Well, I think Alex is, I don't know what Alex, so Alex has his, Hedron V2 system in the pipe, but there's not much motion there. I think I don't know, from an outsider's perspective, it looked like, there's kind of a wrench thrown in that, his plan to support both chains for Hedron V2 after RH's tweet earlier this year. I don't have any insight there, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Alex does next. And I mean, Dr. H said something like, kind of concerned me, and we all know it. And it's that, people are less hesitant to stake, because when you end stake, I mean, your gas fees are going to be enormous. And if the incentive to stake starts to break down, well, then, the Hex thesis, starts to break down if gas fees comes too high. And so, I mean, I think Nate, I think what you said is kind of our approach right now. It's like, we need Pulse right now, and that's where we're going to start, and then we'll kind of see, I guess, how things evolve. I mean, yeah, the eHex just makes me nervous, because you're subject to the ETH Foundation, basically, and the ETH devs, and that's just like, it's a risk that you're essentially taking, and we'll see how things evolve, I guess. But yeah, you answered the question well. I think it was good discussion.
When it comes to the idea of whether or not something is, I mean, even has any value on Ethereum or PulseChain, like theoretically, could everyone wake up one morning and just be like, all right, yep, we're selling all of our eHex today. We're all going to try to fire sale and get as much juice out of it as we can, even though we're selling it for pennies on the dollar. Yeah, sure, that would drive it to zero. But at the same time, I don't think that's going to happen. And because it's not going to happen, what that means is that the people that are still staking are going to be the ones that either they really yield the rewards of the early end stakes, the failed stakes, and whatever is put back into the system. Because, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the point of the Hex protocol itself is that the entire ecosystem is going to grow at 3.69% inflation every year. Granted, 90% of that is still locked up in the OA, and as a result of that, the actual APY for people that are staking and yielding at minimum is 36.9%. And anytime you have an emergency unstake or some sort of event that burns Hex, it turns that reward and gives it to the people that are still staking and still holding. So that's why when you look at all the like the Hexfire IO charts, you see that there are those days randomly where the Hex rewards will just like spike up, like almost double or triple even sometimes. And that's because people have emergency unstaked, and the rewards that would have gone to the average staker are now being consolidated amongst the rest of the people that are still staking. So as long as it doesn't go to absolute zero, it means that the people that are still staking are going to start to get outsized reward from it.
True. Yeah. Right. The protocol can withstand even, the hostile ETH environment. Is what you're saying.
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, as long as a certain, a minimum threshold of viability, like that number of people, as long as that number of people hold on to their stakes, the ecosystem itself will still retain some value, and those people will be the ones that reap the rewards. Granted, again, at the end of the day, like if everyone wakes up and says, this is worthless, everybody sell. then yeah, sure, it all goes to zero. But unless that happens, there are going to be people that will be able to make some sort of play and benefit off of it.
Right.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I've got to get going here. So,
Nate.
Adios, Nate.
yeah, before I go, I just want to say that you guys absolutely have to watch us this Sunday because we have the Q4 show going on, and it's going to be one hell of a show. And I don't know if you would allow Zenith to kind of take the place there, possibly, but yeah.
This Sunday we're trying to do our Q4 thesis show. We're trying to read the tea leaves and actually observe the crystal ball that I just talked about how hard it was to observe earlier. We're trying to do that for the rest of the year. We're going to be talking about how the election could potentially affect the crypto markets. Fun fact, it doesn't really matter either way. Second off, how inflation rate or interest rates and inflation might be affecting the crypto market. And then finally, we're going to be talking about all the interesting stuff coming up, such as the Richard Hart case in New York City. And I hear there's an event going on the next day, November 1st, hosted by some guy that dresses up as a pirate. Any thoughts on that one?
Yes.
Nice.
You can go to PulseChainTour.com and you can get yourself your tickets to come hang out with us. And we're going to have an event. We're going to have speakers, and we're working on some very special speakers. So yeah, it's the date has changed. So if you did have tickets for the earlier event, which was the 25th, was it the 25th?
Used to be the 24th, 25th.
Yeah,
Now
24th, 25th. Now it's going to be
now is 31st,
the
and the 1st.
And it's funny how they changed it that way, because it was like they may have found out there was going to be a couple hundred people there, and let's move it to a holiday now. So I don't know, but somehow, some way we changed it, and we got the venue set up. So yeah, it's still going on, but it will be on the 1st.
I assume that if we got the earlier tickets, we don't need to bother trying to exchange them for new tickets, right? We just bring our
No. You'll be fine. You'll just have to deal with your airfare and the hotel and all that kind of stuff. One more service announcement that I would like to make, and if you got to go, that's fine, but you might want to listen. If you haven't seen, David Feeder has put up a update for those validators out there. There was a exploit in the Linux system, something about one of the ports has been exploited, and people can get into your machines. So you're going to want to go in and watch David Feeder's video. I will get it linked here in the in the video so that you guys can check it out. But he tells you how to go in and fix your validators. Block port, I think it's 361 on your router. And definitely you're going to want to do. It's a critical fix that needs to be done. So check out David Fetter and get your validators secured up.
That's wild. And then one last announcement. So I was with these guys here for my first show of Ascending Tech, which is a show that is a very deep dive into basically just protocols, tokens, and everything. So if you guys want to go ahead and talk about the very specifics of like why your project is amazing and or some sort of token or whatever, go ahead, just hit me up. All right. And you can just go ahead and find me on Telegram right here with Nate McGettick. Just send me a DM. All good to go. But other than that, yes, I will be heading out, guys.
All right.
Use all degen.
All right.
Adios.
And then there were 6. Look at that.
I'm typing the SJ's on the ship, like out partying with everybody, and she's like, anything I need to put in? I'm just reminding myself, putting notes in for links. So she's actually working, and she's out partying with everybody on the Hex cruise on the PulseChain.
Yeah, they sailed out of Texas, right?
Yeah, sailed out of Texas, and they went through Honduras and all that area there. So yeah,
that's pretty killer.
Hexy Mofo asked, did anyone use the exploit or was just identified? It was just identified, and it's a Linux thing. It's not, a blockchain thing or a PulseChain thing, or anything to do with the validators. It was actually a Linux exploit, but that means that somebody could get into your machine.
Fair enough. I mean,
the validator section on Launchpad wasn't working. Yeah, I don't know if that was the problem or if there's been a lot of problems with the validator launch. I forget what the name of the system is, but it's really difficult to work with.
Yeah, David Feeder is the guy that actually built. He runs the validatorstore.com, I want to say it is, where you can actually go buy the hardware, or he'll also be happy just to give you the software for it. I want to say that it's him, and then I think DGen Protocol are also the guys that created the partialized NFT validators, which is that you don't have to have all, 32 million pulse for a validator?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, at the same time,
it's
though,
32 million. Yeah. For a traditional validator, but you can go to the Project Pi guys.
Those guys are good folks as well.
Yes, they're doing a good job with it too, and they have you can get a virtual validator.
The Project Pi guys are also doing the single-sided pulse staking, right?
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, they're actually the winner of the PulseChain Tour at Las Vegas 2024 Pitch Fest. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, so let's talk about Vegas. So Vegas, the 369 PulseChain event. Go to pulsechaintour.com, and that's where tickets are on sale for that. So if you guys are wanting to go to Vegas, bills are paid. Just to let everybody know, it's not the same Vegas event you're used to. But yeah,
there won't be a video. Please, we're in desperate need of your support.
Bro.
No, I don't operate like that, man. I get everything taken care of up front, and if we have people show up, they show up. If not, they don't. And it's, I guess, my gift to the few that do show up if it costs me money. But yeah, we do it that way. We don't try and make money off of Hexicans. We never have. We just try and provide, things that they want. People wanted to have meetups. People wanted to have big events like this. And now with PulseChain, we can do, pitch fests, and we can do hackathons and get big speakers to come there. And they're always a lot of fun too. We all party, we have a good time. And, the Hexicans, whenever you're hanging out with a bunch of Hexicans in that environment, it's really cool. And then, we can grow into the future and have that thing to showcase, who we are and what we do. That's what I've always wanted these events to be, is just that showcase of what the community is and what they've done and the people that are building on it. And, and that's what PulseChain is. So hopefully we're going to get a bunch of projects to come there and set up their booths and have their projects there to talk to people about. And then of course, get them on stage, and then all the new stuff too. Like, Project Pi were the guys that won the last Pitch Fest, and they came out and pitched their deal, and that was cool. It was fun to watch them from the beginning, because we met them in Atlanta when we went to the Atlanta Blockchain Center, and they were just kind of like just figuring it out, and we didn't even know who these Hexicans were. It was a whole center of them that were working on PulseChain, because they were teaching each other how to work on PulseChain, because it was so easy. Now they had an EVM that they could actually do things on and launch things on that didn't cost them an arm and a leg, or So that was cool to see. And then watching them go from, concept all the way to putting their product out and getting it done was really cool to watch, and watching them win the Pitch Fest. That was awesome.
True. I don't think it's an exaggeration to call the Las Vegas event of the PulseChain Tour every year now the premier Hexican and PulseChain event of the year, because it seems like that was the one that everybody wanted to go to. We had an absolute blast of a time. Even on the first night this last year in 2024, we were at Topgolf, and I remember I was trying to assist you with all the cleanup and organization efforts, but that Topgolf staff kept trying to tell us, like, hey, your guys' time reservation is over.
Get out of here.
Get out. And we were like, yeah, sure, whatever. And they had to say it like 3 times before everyone was like, all right, fine, we'll leave, because we were just hanging out, chatting, shooting the shit, and just having a blast. And that was the first night. People were the first night. Every night. It was the
night that we had the bar and whatnot, it was like we closed that thing down. I mean, we just kept going. And I think Hexy bought a round and opened the bar back up for everybody, and then I bought a round, opened up the bar for a couple hours for everybody, and we just kept opening up the bar, and we went all the way to like 3-4 in the morning there. It was pretty cool.
That was a good one. The night that we had the private club event, I want to say it was like Club Ego or something.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Like, we also shut the bar down on that one, and they literally kicked us out again so they could prepare for the next event coming in. And then after that, I want to say Hexy Bastard himself was the one that was like, yeah, let's all go across to the across the street to the bar next door, and then dragged DCC across there. And then he didn't know it, but he accidentally dragged us to a drag bar. So there you go. That's the legend of Hexy Bastard.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, DCC told me about that. You guys ended up in a drag bar that night.
Oh yeah, dude. That night we still went to like I think that night I literally walked out of whatever bar or club we were at with DIY Donovan as the sun was coming out, and he was like, "Oh shoot, we have to go to brunch in like 5 hours. Have a fun nap."
Yeah,
Question.
I got out of there.
Was the okay? So it seems like when is the or the Pulse Vegas thing? When is that? What days?
March 6th through the 9th.
PulseChain Tour, Las Vegas, March 6th through the 9th. The premier Hexican and PulseChain event of the year. And to cap it off this year, there's even a golf tournament on that Sunday morning. Be there or be square.
Sunday! I just got to say that while you...
because the Bitcoin Vegas thing is in May, so it's relatively close.
We're much cooler than Bitcoin.
Yeah,
no, there was a guy that put on an entire tour of events saying that Hex is better than Bitcoin. I don't want to say that was 2023, so I don't know.
Yeah, 2023. But yeah, I've been to, these Bitcoin events are just they're boring. I've been to them. I didn't, I don't know. They're not the same as our events. Our events go down epic. Like something always happens at our events that just throws it over the top. But when I went to the Bitcoin event with, they were all there, all the influencers. We went to the after party. It was just one person after another, like just talking about themselves and their program and their show. And it was like, wait a minute, what are you guys doing here? And they were talking about themselves in the third person. It was really, really weird. And that pleb, what's his name? Eric Wall was with us, acting like a damn fool. It was just, it was. Those guys.
I mean, if you want to give the pitch, the Bitcoiners want to come to our conference, or RG3's conference, shall we say, because we even got BitBoy last year. That was a fun time hanging out with him at Topgolf. I think he even streamed outside of the venue before it happened.
Yeah, he did. He was streaming before, and then he did a couple streams after. But I don't
place
know.
To be.
What's he been doing lately?
Hopefully, we'll see him in Vegas next year.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see who shows up this time. Might be some special guests. So anyway, that's Vegas.
We're gonna have a wrestling competition next meetup that we're both attending. All right, Dylan.
There we go.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
We're gonna have a wrestling competition next time there's a meetup.
I'll get my ass kicked, but sure, yeah.
You might not be the first ones to do it. You're gonna have to go hit up Crypto Coffee and Hexy about that one.
Oh yeah. They're gonna be in there. They'll be in there.
Hexy's like 6'2", 6'1", and Hexy's like 6'1". He's like 6'6'1". Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
How tall am I?
Yes, he is.
Am I 6'1"?
No.
Look, I make the joke that
5'11"?
I am 5'11", and no one is ever 5'11", so you say you're 6 foot. But at the same time, if you're on the dating profiles, it's similar to fake IDs. You don't ever get a fake ID that says you're 21. You get one that says you're 22. Therefore, I'm actually 5'11", but I tell people I'm 6'1".
Well, Crypto Coffee's like 5'8", 5'9" at best.
Wait, you're going to give Hexy 6'1", but then you're going to shortchange Coffee at 5'8"? What is going on here?
Roasted.
You're doing it.
Well, I'm just saying.
Come on, man.
Watching the wrestling match going on. Well, Hexy's always piss ass drunk too. Well, I can't say much for Coffee either, but that's why they were wrestling.
Look, what happens at 2 a.m. in the Aria Valet lot, it stays in the Aria Valet lot. And Twitter, apparently.
Yeah.
It's just bonding time,
Good male bonding.
Yeah. I don't do that no more. That was back in the 20s when you're 20 years old. Not now. Things break.
You said 20s like it was 1920s, Cap. That was
damn near was, man.
Oh my
like
God.
RJ was, wasn't even around then.
The boomers weren't around in 1920, Cap. What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about in my 20s.
C3, when were you around? Were you around in the what, the 30s or 40s?
Not quite that far. No. I'm sure we're the same age.
We're probably about the same.
Season forward.
Yeah. Oof.
True. Hey, gentlemen, I got a question that I'm asking everybody these days. What crypto events are you looking forward to in Q4 of 2024? Obviously, I think a lot of us are going to New York for the hearing, but is there anything outside of that? Any projects, any launches, any big decisions, ideas coming up? What do you got in the horizons?
There's a super cool Bitcoin one off of one of the islands off of Portugal. What's the name of that place?
Madeira?
No, there's another one. Let's see if I can look it up. But anyway, that's. I think there's a bunch of Hexicans going to that one too.
Okay. Any project launches?
I'm trying to think, man. Hopefully, hopefully Ink gets something. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to.
Oh, there ain't going to be any conferences,
Yeah,
right?
I'm gonna
Ink will get some love, man. It's all right.
Yeah, it's in Madeira. It's called Bitcoin Atlantis. The island's called Madeira, and it's Bitcoin Atlantis. And that's going to be on March 1st through the 3rd on Madeira.
Yep. I know that place. I've actually been there once before. It's a Portuguese island off the coast of Morocco. The claim to fame there is they have two things. I think one, they allegedly claim that Cristiano Ronaldo is from there, so they have a giant bronze statue of him. And then the other thing is that it's a bit of a mountainous island, and a lot of people used to live up on the mountain and then commute down to the town to do their daily business. And what they did is they created, I kid you not, it's literally like a wicker basket that you have someone behind you pushing down the wicker basket and steering it down the streets to get to the bottom.
Huh.
And that's how you get to work in the morning, or they used to anyways. So now you can go up there and
Now
you
they
can
use
pay
skateboards, probably.
No, they're still doing the wicker basket thing, but it's a tourist attraction. You pay a couple euro, they stick you in the basket, and they just shove you down this street going like 20, 30 miles an hour. And there's just a dude on the back of this basket with like some like effectively bowling shoes trying to steer you in these like alleys. It's a wild time. You take a gondola up, you take the basket down. Fun time.
A lot of wild islands over there. Malta's cool. All those Greek islands are cool. They got a lot of, big cliff sides and all that kind of stuff. Not like Hawaiian Islands or the Bahamas down there, where you got, chill beaches, all that. Like Malta doesn't even have like hardly any beach area there. Everything's rock cliffs and like it's like a fortress island, It was a trip. But nice, very nice, very nice. I suggest to anybody, if you ever want to go to some place really cool, go to Malta. Malta is an incredible place to go. And they like crypto there. They really like crypto.
Hey, that's not bad. I mean, if we're talking about tropical islands, I got to say, I think the ABC islands in the Caribbean are pretty good. But the hidden gem of them is Bonaire. So you have Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao. Bonaire is the one that's the least trafficked, but they also have some of the best snorkeling and scuba diving in the world. They specifically use a lot of the tourist funds to help rebuild the coral reefs there. And even to the point where like they specifically sell you very specific sunscreen that is non-damaging to the coral so they can keep it fresh and keep it alive. It's a super cool spot. I think it's actually a subsidiary of the Netherlands. It's less trafficked, but if you're down for a good time, check it out. True. All right, we'll tell you what. I'll answer my own question real quick. What I'm looking forward to in Q4 2024, obviously we're going to New York. We're fighting the SEC, or Richard Hart's legal team that he paid a lot of good money for is fighting the SEC. Yeah. After that, allegedly the fetch to ASI, or Artificial Superintelligence Token Swap, Phase 2 is happening sometime. We'll see. It's not booked yet. And then after that, I'm also watching Phantom, because they're going to be launching the Sonic Network. And if they're doing that, they're also going to be upgrading the Phantom Network. The reason that they're launching the Sonic Network is the changes they've made to the Phantom virtual machine are so large that it actually can't upgrade the Ethereum virtual machine to their Sonic Network, but they're still making upgrades to their Phantom Network, which are still EVM compatible. So the absolute fastest thing out there is going to be Sonic Network, and Phantom Network is going to get an upgrade, which theoretically could be applied to Ethereum, which if Ethereum gets an upgrade, it means lower gas fees, and it means Hex stakes, Quattro Cincos are much more viable. So I think that's good news all around. That is what I'm looking forward to. And to Santa Barali for a good pump in December.
PulseChain gets the update.
Absolutely.
That was a good move.
I like it.
Keep it on the EVM. All right, guys. Well, with that, we've been on for 2 hours. Hexicans, Giga, thanks for coming. Glad to have you guys
Thanks for
around.
having us, bro.
That
Of
was
course,
nice for
man.
coming. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
See you around more
Just had to
often.
show the great migration, that's all.
The great migration.
I had to
Oh,
show
yeah.
the great loss. The great bad loss, man.
Oh man, Giga's a great sport, man.
Hey, Giga and Hexicans, where can we keep up on this bet? I wanna see some results in December.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, so you can probably follow us on Twitter or the Pulse Bear Chat, guys. Okay, the most poppin' chat in Pulse. Okay, but my Twitter is at @BB_trippin with no G. Okay, and then Giga can show his stuff.
Yeah, I'm at Giga_Pulse or PLS. Sorry, but
Super
yeah,
simple.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to be shilling all sorts of memes of me getting wrecked here. They're already all over the place. So
There's already a diss track against Giga, guys. Okay,
Yeah.
I already made a diss track.
Just even a diss track.
Where can we find the diss track? I need
If
to
you
know.
go to SoundCloud and you literally just type in Hexicans versus Giga, it'll pop right up.
It's true. It's true.
Dig that. Oh, by the way, one other thing, guys, little housekeeping. If you want a discount on those tickets, if you're going to go to the Vegas event, you can get 20% off by going to code DGen, and those guys will
Best
give you
selling code out there.
Yeah, they'll give
That's
you-
right. On the website, use code DGEN, DEGEN, at checkout for the PulseChain Tour tickets. Unfortunately, it's not for the golf tournament, but maybe one day we'll see. As of right now, for the main conference tickets, use code DGEN, DEGEN. And when's it through? I think Estee told me it's through
20%
Sunday.
until the 31st, until the
Through the
31st of October.
Oh, wow.
Then it
Long time.
drops down to 15%. So you're getting 20% right now.
There you go, folks.
Nice.
All right, RJ, C3, thanks for coming. Anything you guys want to end with? Let everybody know where you guys are at. They can get more information about what you guys are doing.
Well, so we want to see Giga lose this bet even more than he already has because
Oh, we're on the way.
we're building on top of Hex, and our protocol is the point is that you'll be able to pull liquidity out of your Hex stake, and by extension, we're going to incentivize users to create more stakes for longer and bigger amounts. So we want to see lots of Hex taken off the table and in longer stakes, and so our protocol is going to incentivize doing that. That's how you'll be able to farm our actuator token. So you can find us at actuator.finance. We're launching in a couple days on October 8th at mainnet. So you could find us there, and you could find our audits, and join us on Telegram to learn more about our protocol.
Right on, right on. Zenith, thanks for coming, bud. All right,
Always
everybody.
a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
All right, boys.
Appreciate
Thanks,
all
guys.
you. Have a good one. See you next week.
Later.